So what up, YouTube? So I came to you in my last short saying that I'll be basically creating a video um basically about a rundown of my life and where what I came come from or where I came from up until now. Um yeah, this video is probably going to be pretty lengthy. I think I may even break it down into different segments because that's what it's going to take. Like I was saying, I'm not 19 years old anymore, guys. I'm like 44 years old now. So you know what I'm saying? I got my own man shit going on. You feel what I'm saying? Like let's really get grown on them. But yeah, so basically I wanted to let you guys know so you guys can get to know a little bit about me and the person that you're viewing and the stories that you're covering. You know what I mean? Let's just take a deep dive into where I come from. You know what I mean? So, yes. So people that were familiar with the time span can understand, and definitely people now gonna understand. When I come to fruition with the current where I'm currently at now in my life as a part of my story. So definitely let's take y'all guys back to the 80s. I was born in the early 80s. I was born in Boston, Massachusetts. I was born in Brigham and Women's Hospital back in the 80s. And this is like really early 80s. And it just so happened to be that my life starts off in Dorchester, Massachusetts, where a lot of black folks can relate to that. Being in Dorchester at that time, even now, doesn't really matter. It's just a home for colored folk like myself. Fair to say. So yeah. So I was born in the 80s, Boston, Massachusetts, Dorchester. I was born but not raised. I'll get into that later. I'm jumping ahead of a little ahead of schedule. I'm always ahead of schedule. That's the way it seems like I like to be nowadays. I like to be ahead of shit. So you know what I mean. But yes. So 81, Dorchester, Mass. Early on in my life, this is things that I can remember. Guys, keep in mind you, that this is just raw. There's no script, there's no going back and editing, there's nothing that. I'm just going roughly from what I can remember from then until now. So as I can remember, I was born in the 80s, Dorchester, Massachusetts. I was raised by my mom, my late great mom. People that viewed as family members, friends, they know how dear my mother was to my heart and how close I was to her. But I was raised by a single mother in a single parent household. I'm not sure if you can relate to that. And if you can't relate to it, I hope you can relate to it in a great way. Some people that have been raised in a single parent households, they have different opinions, different things that they went through. Some may not even see a difference in their life. I'm not sure. I can't call it that way, but yeah, my mother was a single parent mother. She was born down south. She's from the south. From my understanding, she was born in Dawson. That's what her birth certificate says. She was born in Dawson. I don't know how long or how much time she spent in Dawson, Georgia, but I know that's where she's from. And I believe she was raised in Jacksonville, Florida. Those of you that are familiar with Jacksonville, Florida, or any type of Florida or Georgia or anything like that. So fair to say, some of my attributes or some of my personality, you can probably see or hear or feel or even look, but a little bit of the South I do have in my blood. But I also have that way up north power and energy in my blood too. So I got a little bit of both worlds, if you fair to say. You know what I'm saying? Shouts out to all my people down south. You know what I mean? Down in deep south, dirty south. Shouts out to all y'all people out there. I love everybody. I don't really discriminate on areas or anything like that. You know what I mean? So yeah. So she was raised in Jacksonville, from my understanding, but born in Dawson, Georgia. So that's for my mother. I do know that I did have a brother. I do have a brother that was raised also in the same household. We don't share the same fathers, but we do share the same mothers, which is kind of important to me. The way that my brain thinks is kind of important that we share the same mother, especially if we grew up in the same household. The only difference between me and my brother, as far as age goes, is that he's a lot older than I am. So you know what I mean. So he was. I think we have at least I want to say maybe 20 years apart. But I do know that he was up there in his late teens when I was a child. So yeah. So yeah, I grew up in Dorchester. And I really don't remember too much because I didn't spend a whole bunch of years there. I want to say, give or take, I spent 7 or 8 years in the beginning of my life in Dorchester, and basically where I'm from, being that I was born there. So I would say from 81 until, I want to say, maybe off a little, but I want to say about 87, 88. Is in the next chapter of my life, but I don't really remember too much about it. I just know that back in that time, that I thank God that my mother made a choice for me and my brother to get away. You know what I'm saying? Because I can tell you, back then in the early 80s, there was a lot of discovery of different things that were brought into the communities on purpose. Like we all know, this is not like no conspiracy or not just making up stuff. We all know that certain things were brought to certain neighborhoods, and they do certain tests on folk of my stature, my color. You know what I mean? And we all know. But back then in the 80s, there was a lot of violence, a lot of murders. Things were crazy. My whole family basically lived on the same block. The block was getting shot up. Family members' houses was getting shot up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I do thank my mother for having the courage to want to get out of that situation. You feel me? Even though none of that stuff had to do with me, of course, because I'm just a toddler, just a baby, or my older brother. Nothing like that had to do with us. You know what I'm saying? It's just an environment that I was born into and that came out of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, so things were going crazy. The crime rates were at a staggering point. You know what I mean? And then you're housed on a block with all of your folks. You know what I'm saying? Some people get along, some people don't. It's just normal, regular shit that us folks that grow up in the same compacted area, on the same compacted list, doing the same compacted, you know what I'm saying? The same things. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a vicious cycle if you're thinking about it that way. But yeah, so I do thank her for getting me out of that situation, or getting us out of that situation, because from what I was told from her, that it was getting really crazy and she didn't feel comfortable anymore being in the area. So I would say my first 7 to 8 years, that's where I was born. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I started to grow into a little kid, little boy, little child, whatever you want to call it. So I spent about 8 years there, surrounded by family. We had the type of block where my whole family had a three family apartment. So it was just basically family there, and then to the side of us, or maybe in the front, across the street or up the street, we had other relatives and family, and friends too. So that's how it was for me. This is a pretty interesting way to grow up, you know what I'm saying? Because you feel like, you're for my mom's case, or for us, our family wasn't too far away. You know what I'm saying? We didn't have to feel isolated of not having any family. You know what I mean? So that was basically a great memory, or something that I can say that I felt good about now in retrospect, that I feel very, very great and positive, that my mother didn't have to my mother and brother didn't have to do it alone. You know what I mean? Which is good. You know what I mean? It kind of shaped my beliefs and how I carry myself when you want to break it down to family. So yeah. So it's just basically that's the beginning of my life. Starting off, was born in Dorchester, stayed there for about 7 to 8 years, attended public schools. I do remember about public schools. I went to the Lee School. The Lee School in Dorchester, Massachusetts. And before, I guess, the Lee School, or I would say the beginning of my elementary, I think was spent there. But I went to what did they call that, preschool, the Sarah Greenwood. I want to say that's right off of Glenway. Excuse me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it was the Sarah Greenwood. I remember, because my memory is kind of sharp a little bit still. You know what I mean? A little gray around the edges, but my mind is still there. Don't get it twisted, guys. You know what I'm saying? I got this gray beard for a reason. I know some shit, so don't play around with it. So yeah. So I can remember attending Sarah Greenwood as a preschooler, you know, and I remember I had this teacher named Mrs. Guilfoyle, and she was a nice teacher, and for some reason she took a liking to me, and you know, we became close as a student and teacher. I do remember she had chopped one of her finger off, cutting, you know, those old paper cutters back in the day. They had them big slicer things. Yeah, so she sliced it. So I do remember that. I also remember the type of kid I was to be around a lot of you know, a lot of children. I'm the type of person that's like, you know, I don't know what these kids are about. I don't know how they acting or whatever. So I always had a tendency to be in my own zone, my own area, you know what I'm saying? And I would say kind of, if you want to call it shy, or to myself, or analyzing things, I just, you know, just went with the flow and watched a lot of things, you know what I mean? I never had been around so many children. That's kind of one of my first human experiences of being around so many children that are different than I am. You get what I'm trying to say? So yeah, I went there, graduated there, and then I moved on, I believe, if my memory serves me correct. The Lee School off of Talbot Ave in Dorchester. I went there. I don't know if it was for a couple of months or maybe a year or two, but I want to say I only remember being there for not too long before we exit stage left from Dorchester. And yeah, so we enter stage left, or exit stage left from Dorchester, and I think that I'm gonna save this for a round two, because you guys deserve a round two on this one. So I'm gonna end it there in Dorchester, and I'm gonna bring you to my where things really start to warm up and heat up. You know what I'm saying? I just a little bit start to jump out of the porch, or I enter basically a different chapter, a different setting. You know what I'm saying? A different way of life. So yeah, until then, like I said before, it doesn't take much less than this video to like, subscribe, comment, you know, and also hit the notification bell, so you can keep up and in tune with you know, what I'm bringing to this YouTube, you know, this YouTube world or whatever, and sharing my life and the things that I've been through. And you know, in my view, that's the name of my my channel is Still's View. Too, I know you're wondering, what the hell kind of name is Still? Well, where the hell did you get that name from? I'm gonna explain that. That's gonna come to you. I'm gonna do a whole little video on that, you know, letting you know how I basically get my character name of Still. I'm gonna say character name, you know what I'm saying, because I'm not in the streets. It's not really a street name. I'm not really in the streets like that no more. I'm like, and I never really been. I'm 44 years old, but basically my character name of Still. So yeah, the name of the excuse me, I'm over here doing stuff. The name of the video, the channel is Still's View. So until then, like I said, once again, don't forget, this is very important. If you're viewing this video, you know what I'm saying, it takes nothing. If you're viewing it this long, you must like it. This common sense, you must like it. So thumbs up, like, share, comment, subscribe, and also hit that notification bell. Until then, I'm out. Peace.